Naseem Hamed, known for his extravagant style and devastating power, was a spectacle in himself. But there was one night, one fight, that marked the beginning of the end for the Prince of Boxing. What happened in that ring that changed everything for Hamed? Here you will see. Naseem Hamed, known as the Prince, was born on February 12, 1974, in Sheffield, England. While today it's common for English people to have names like his, it wasn't so during his childhood. His father, originally from Yemen, had come to England seeking fortune. At the age of 7, his father took Naseem and 2 of his older brothers to learn self-defense, aware that, as Arabs in Sheffield, they might face difficulties. What this father didn't know was that his young son Naseem had already shown a natural talent for defense. He had had a couple of encounters with other kids and had managed to come out victorious. It was then that Brendan Ingle, impressed by his speed and reaction time to attacks, decided to invite him to train. Over the next 11 years of training and various amateur competitions, Naseem amassed an impressive record of 62 wins and only 5 losses. Along the way, he won several English national titles and reached the finals in some European boxing tournaments. It was when he was thinking of turning professional that he came up with the idea of being known as the Prince. Being an amateur, he was already the Prince, and if he turned professional and became a champion, then he would be the king. Naseem made his professional boxing debut on February 14, 1992, facing fellow Englishman Rick Bird. Bird had only 2 wins and 6 losses, which tells us he was there to be defeated by the emerging promise of English boxing. This was the first time we saw Naseem wearing his characteristic trunks with what appeared to be leopard spots. Naseem and Bird began exchanging blows, and from the first minute, we began to see Naseem's elusive style. This fight lasted until the second round, during which Naseem inflicted severe punishment on his opponent's face and body. But before the end of the second round, Naseem landed a blow to the battered body of his opponent that sent him to the canvas, unable to continue. With this, Prince Naseem achieved his first professional victory and, moreover, by KO. His next 9 fights were against local English fighters, the vast majority with negative records. 8 of those 9 victories after his debut were by KO or technical KO. On April 9, 1994, he faced Belgian John Maselli, who had a record of 9-2-2, while Naseem came with a perfect record of 11-0. The fight took longer to introduce the fighters than the fight itself, as Naseem finished Maselli in just 2 minutes and 50 seconds of the first round with a spectacular KO. In May 1994, he clashed with Italian Vincenzo Belcastro for the European Boxing Union's bantamweight title. Naseem quickly took control of this fight and knocked Belcastro down early on, demonstrating his ability to dodge and counterpunch. At the end of the battle, Naseem secured a clear unanimous decision, becoming the EBU bantamweight champion. But, as we know, you're not a champion until you defend your title. 3 months after winning the title, he had to defend it against another Italian named Antonio Picardi. Picardi got to experience Naseem's dodging and counterpunching skills and ended up falling by technical KO in the 3rd round. On October 12, 1994, Naseem Hamed faced Dominican Freddy Cruz for the vacant WBC bantamweight international title. Despite Cruz's impressive record of June 6, 45, he couldn't inflict significant damage on Hamed. The latter dominated for 5 full rounds, and in the 6th round, sealed his victory by technical KO. After winning his international title, Hamed embarked on 5 defenses of the same. First, he dispatched fellow Dominican Laureano Ramirez by technical KO in the 3rd round. He continued with Mexican Armando Castro, who fell by technical KO in the 4th round after Hamed landed a series of powerful blows. He continued with Argentine Sergio Liendo, Mexican Enrique Angeles, and Colombian Juan Polo Perez. He knocked out all 3 in the 2nd round. With a perfect record of 19-0, he received the opportunity to fight for a world title, specifically the WBO featherweight title. On September 30, 1995, he faced Steve Robinson in Wales. Both men engaged in a war for 8 rounds, but in the 8th, Hamed secured the victory by technical KO. thus becoming the WBO featherweight world champion. But as we know, one is not a champion until they defend their title. And Hamed successfully defended it 15 times. During the defense process, he won other titles. His first defense would be against Nigerian Said Lawal, who fell in less than 40 seconds in the first round due to a violent blow to the jaw after being knocked down with a short hook to the same area. From June 8, 1996 to November 9 of that same year, he made 3 more defenses. First, he dispatched Puerto Rican Daniel Alicia by technical KO in the second round. Next was Manuel Medina, who was being so punished that his corner stopped the fight. Then he sent Argentine Remigio Molina packing with a technical KO in the second round. With these results and his rise in the rankings of other organizations, he then received the opportunity to fight for the IBF featherweight title. On February 8, 1997, he faced Tom Johnson for the aforementioned title, and for 7 long rounds, both men fought violently. But in the 8th, Hamed secured the victory with a technical KO, retaining his WBO title and winning the IBF title. After this, he faced Englishman Billy Hardy, whom he defeated in the first round by technical KO. He then dispatched Argentine Juan Gerardo Cabrera also by technical KO but in the second round, thus retaining both his titles. But in boxing, there are 2 ways to lose: inside the ring with fists and outside when the self-proclaimed boxing bosses make decisions based on their interests and not the fighters. Hamed lost his IBF title when the organization stripped him of it for refusing to fight Hector Lizarraga. His refusal wasn't out of fear or anything like that, but because he felt the purse negotiations were insufficient. After being stripped of his IBF title, he focused on defending his WBO crown. In this new set of defenses, he defeated Puerto Rican Jose Badillo on October 11, 1997, by technical KO in the 7th round. Then he had his first opportunity to fight in the United States, and nothing less than at Madison Square Garden, one of the places where the most iconic boxers have fought. There he faced Kevin Kelly, who seriously troubled our protagonist by sending him to the canvas 3 times with powerful blows. But he could continue. Although it was clear that to win he would have to knock out, and well, he did. In the 4th round, he knocked out Kelly in a decisive manner, dispelling doubts that he couldn't succeed on American soil. After that successful defense, he faced Puerto Rican Wilfredo Vazquez, who until a few days before the fight was the WBA champion. But the same thing happened to him as to Hamed, meaning the WBA bosses stripped him of his title for not fighting who they wanted. Regardless, the fight took place, and the proclaimed prince gifted the Puerto Rican with a technical KO defeat in the 7th round. Hamed won the fight but missed becoming the WBA champion, although the damn bastard sent him a champion belt as a gesture, but without considering him as such. It's almost like an insult. He returned to the United States on October 31, 1998, to face Englishman Wayne McCullough. This opponent managed to withstand Hamed's onslaughts for 12 rounds of the fight, in which, obviously, Hamed demonstrated his dodging skills. At the end of the fray, Hamed won a clear unanimous decision. On April 10, 1999, in Manchester, he dispatched fellow Englishman Paul Ingle in the 10th round by technical KO and returned to American soil to face the WBC champion, Cesar Soto, in whom Hamed's detractors had put their faith. But often in life, one thing is what you want, and another is what you get. This fight was quite lackluster on both sides, and more than a boxing match, it was a street fight with gloves. But after 12 rounds, Hamed won by unanimous decision, thus becoming the WBC champion again. By this point, the Prince was a champion of 2 organizations, the WBO and the WBC. But barely passing 2 months, the WBC stripped him of the title. The reason? Well, the WBC asked him to resign from the WBO title, and he refused. After all, boxers can hold as many titles at the same time as they can obtain, but the WBC wanted him to be only their champion. But Hamed refused. So Suleiman did his thing and took it away just like that. By this point, Naseem Hamed maintained an intact record of 33 wins and no losses. However, not everything was as perfect as his record suggested. After his fight against Wayne McCullough, Hamed decided to leave his lifelong trainer. This was because his trainer had written a book recounting his experience guiding this boxing prodigy. In the book, the trainer made it clear that Hamed was at a point in his career where all he cared about was money. He had lost motivation and only wanted to be adulated. This did not sit well with the champion. He totally disagreed with what was said in those pages. So, as his trainer didn't praise him as he expected, he decided to fire him. From then on, Hamed imposed his own rules and didn't train as he should. Still, he managed to dispatch Bungu and Augie Sanchez by technical KO in the 4th round. Now, something curious. According to sources, the WBO stripped him of his undisputed world champion title. And once again, it was taken from him in an office and not in the ring. But they left him with a title called Lineal Champion. After all these moves, he had to taste defeat. This came at the hands of Mexican Marco Antonio Barrera. These two men clashed in Las Vegas on April 7, 2001, and after 12 rounds where Barrera completely dominated, Hamed lost his so-called lineal title, failed to win the vacant IBF title, and lost his unbeaten record. After his defeat, Hamed said that he was not invincible and that Barrera had been the best that night. So, sad and defeated, he left with $6 million in his pocket. So not everything was bad. He was offered an immediate rematch, but he did not accept the proposal. On May 18, 2002, in London, he faced Manuel Calvo for the vacant IBO featherweight title. For 12 rounds, Hamed dominated a much inferior Calvo and ended up sealing a unanimous decision victory, taking home a second-rate title. This was his last appearance in the ring, as he would later announce his retirement from boxing at just 28 years old. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell. This way, you'll stay updated on more exciting content and won't miss any details of the most epic boxing matches in history. See you in the next video.